Local history reporters ready for discussion. Ron Dominic de la Cruz, Diniki Morales, Raimjin Dumlao, and Jeneline Villarosa.
I am Ron Dominic de la Cruz, reporting about local and oral history, museums, and historical shrines. People create information every day. In this day and age, people have witnessed how our society has evolved when it comes to information. Information is therefore essential to survive in our present communities. Thus, the study of local history enlighten our information, our community, historical shrines, museums serve as a portal to the past.
Good day to everyone. I'm Jeneline Villarosa and I will discuss about local and oral history. First is the local history. It is the study of the history of a particular community or a smaller unit of geography. It is a broad and dynamic field of inquiry that aims to have a thorough understanding of a certain locale. Studying local history can lay out new and alternative interpretation of the different aspects of a nation's history. Local history makes it easier to have a historical narrative from the people, which the historians call the history from below. Local history gives new perspective on the already established national history. It helps to recognize the nuance and uniqueness of an event through the experience of people coming from different localities in the nation. One of the tasks in doing local history is providing sources from local and specific object of study, which is a difficult task for historians, because despite the seemingly smaller scope of the study, historians are often faced with challenges in locating sources from local and specific objects. For example, it is much easier to study the life of the national heroes rather than the local ones because of the limited sources. Nevertheless, historians take this problem as as an encouragement to innovate and recreate local historical methodology. Oral history is one of the most important historical methodology in local history. It is an important part that amends the scarcity in written sources, historical documents, and other material evidences. Oral history uses the oral accounts of historical subjects, witnesses, members of the communities, and the like. It primarily relies on the memory, wherein the subjects or informant recount their memory about a certain event and their experiences or the things they learn from their ancestors or older members of the community. Although some objects in using and relying on oral history, such as the positivist historians, they primarily use written document and they see oral history as something faulty and inaccurate and as a mere supplement to the history written from the written documents. Yet, using oral document does help to recognize the history of unprivileged sectors and communities like urban poor or indigenous people that is usually left out on records. Because of this, oral history plays an important role. Historians look for alternative methods that will capture the experience and the collective pasts of these communities. Local and oral history are important endeavors in the development and enrichment of history. These efforts fill the gaps in the discipline by highlighting alternative areas of the study and methodology towards a more holistic, inclusive, and progressive study of our past. That's all for local and oral history. Thank you.
Good morning, this is Tumlao speaking, and I will be discussing about interacting with history through historical shrines and museums. As you can see, I have provided three pictures below, and these pictures show what we call artifacts. Why do you think shrines and museums are important? Let's get back to it later. But first, I would like to discuss about research is a valuable tool to learn more about the experience of the nation and our history. There are venues that exist where we experience history, and these are through historical shrines and museums. These venues provide us a certain level of authority and trustworthiness that could impact the way we view past. Through interacting with artifacts that I mentioned earlier, and as you can see in the picture, such as the World War I rifle or the clothes of a Filipino hero, we can better imagine the past beyond the mere letter and the words we read and painstakingly memorize. Now, going back to the question, why do you think shrines and museums are important? It's because museums have the power to create unity on both social and political level, also on the local one. And museums are important places for students of history. But you know what? Displays in museums do not just happen. Just like the things that we see there, whether in books, songs, oral accounts, or even collection of photographs, they have been created by or constructed by someone for a purpose. For centuries, museums have played an integral part in preserving the history of our society. The exhibits that we see tells a story about our nation, how our communities and cultures came to be. And without these, those stories will never be told and be forgotten by everyone. That is why museums serve our communities in a multitude of ways, as well as shrines. These tangible objects are reconstructions of the past. Experiencing them directly is the next best thing to being there, which makes these more real for us, and researchers show that learning by experience aids with retention of the learning later in life. Historical shrines and museums serve as portals to the past, but one must take note that visiting a museum entails preparation. One thing you can do is look for historical markers, and these markers are put up by National Historical Commissions of the Philippines to provide basic details on what makes a certain site historical. They ensure where it is located, of historical and of cultural value to the nation. Now for the question, why do you think these tangible objects or artifacts are important? Well, according to Fritz Dufour, a researcher, artifacts are important because not only they provide us with a glimpse into the lifestyles and customs of the ancient civilization, but also the most important, they are seminal tools in our quest to know what history was like before, considering that there are no written literature dating back to ancient history. And if you do not know where you are coming, then how can you appreciate where you are going? It is important which we have to consider the artifacts belong to our history, and cultural artifacts are of critical import to study the humans.
Good day. I am Dency Jetro J. Morales. I am going to report about Filipino cultural heritage. Cultural heritage is central to protecting our sense of who we are. It gives us an irrefutable connection to the past, to certain social values, beliefs, customs, and traditions that allow us to identify ourselves with others and deepen our sense of unity, belonging, and national pride. Cultural heritage is an expression of ways of living developed by a community and passed on from generation to generation, including customs, practice, places, objects, artistic expressions, and values. Cultural heritage is often expressed as either intangible or tangible cultural heritage by ICOMOS 2002. When we say tangible, these are the things that we can perceive easily by the sense of touch. Cultural heritage reflects our culture, especially from our ancestors, on how they live on that time that's still present today. Also, there are many other places that shows our cultures, beliefs, tradition, customs, and our identity as a citizens of these nations. The World Heritage List includes 5 Philippine properties. One is to Bataha Reef National Marine Park, 2. The rice terraces of the Philippine Cordilleras, number 3. The historic town of Vigan, number 4. The Puerto Princesa Subterranean River National Park, and number 5 is the Baroque churches of the Philippines, including Santo Tomas de Villanueva in Miagao, Iloilo, San Agustin in Paway, Ilocos Norte, Nuestra Señora de la Asunción in Santa Maria, Ilocos Sur, and San Agustin in Intramuros, Manila. Puerto Princesa Subterranean River National Park encompasses one of the world's impressive cave system featuring spectacular limestone karst, landscapes, pristine natural beauty, an intact old-grown forest, and distinctive wildlife. It is located in the southwestern part of the Philippine archipelago, on the midwestern coast of Palawan, approximately 76 km northwest of Puerto Princesa and 360 km southwest of Manila. The property comprising an area of approximately 22,202 hectares, containing an 8.2 km long underground river. The highlight of this subterranean river system is that it flows directly into the sea, with its brackish lower half subjected to the tidal influence. Distinguishing it is as a significant natural global phenomenon. The river cavern presents remarkable, eye-catching rock formation. The property contains a full mountain-to-sea ecosystem, which provides significant habitat for biodiversity conservation and protects the most intact and noteworthy forest within the Palawan Biographic Province. The Banawe Rice Terraces, or also known the Hagdang-Hagdang Palayan ng Banawe, among the World Heritage Sites in the Philippines. The rice terraces of the Philippine Cordilleras have such a powerful presence that makes them one of the most outstanding places in the country. Lying high in the Cordillera mountain range, their setting cannot be replicated anywhere in the lowland tropical landscapes of the Philippines, or even anywhere in the world. It is commonly thought that the terraces were built with minimal equipment, largely by hand. The terraces are located approximately 1,500 meters or 4,900 feet above sea level. These are fed by an ancient irrigation system from the rainforest above the terraces. It is said that if the steps were put end to end, it would encircle half of the globe aside from the Banawe rice terraces. Additionally, there are four other similar terraces: the Batad rice terraces, the Mayoyaw rice terraces, Hapao Rice Terraces, and the Kiangan Rice Terraces. Thank
Historic city of Vigan Ilocos Sur. Vigan or Ciudad Ferdinandina de Vigan was the third most important city after Manila and Cebu. It was the center of Spanish colonial power in northern Luzon. The architectural ensembles shows that the Vigan was the political, economical, religious, and artistic center of the region. The town is a living testament to the Spanish colonial era, a place that exerted a strong cultural influence on the modern Philippine nation. Vigan is the most indirect example in Asia as a planned Spanish colonial town, established in 16th century. Its architecture reflects the coming together of cultural elements from elsewhere in the Philippines and from China with those of Europe and Mexico to create a unique culture and townscape without parallels anywhere in the East and Southeast Asia. An important trading post before the colonial era, Vigan is located at the river delta of Abra River along the northwestern coastline of main island of Luzon, in the province of Ilocos Sur, Philippine archipelago. Church of San Agustin, Pauay, Ilocos Norte. The San Agustin Church in Pauay began its construction in 1604 and finally completed in 1710. This is one of the most outstanding earthquake baroque structures in the Philippines where the primary concern was to design the church for earthquake protection. The coral stone bell tower, standing at some distance from the church for earthquake protection, was finished in the second half of the 18th century. Philippine bell towers were constructed at a distance from the main church structures to avoid falling on the church during earthquake. A three-story coral stone bell tower stands a few meters away from the church. The bell tower served as an observation post in 1986 for the Katipuneros during the Philippine Revolution against the Spaniard, and again by the Filipino guerrilla during the Japanese occupation in World War II. In 1993, the church was designed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site as one best example of the Baroque churches of the Philippines. The historical church is famous for its distinct architecture, highlighted by the enormous buttresses on the side and back of the building. The Tubataha Natural Park or Bahurang Tubataha. Tubataha Reefs Natural Park lies in a unique position in the center of the Sulu Sea and includes the Tubataha and GC Beasley Reef. It protects an area of almost 100,000 hectares of high-quality marine habitats containing three atolls and a large area of the deep sea. The property is home to a great diversity of marine life. Whales, dolphins, sharks, turtles, and Apollon wrasse are amongst the key species found here. The reef ecosystems supports over 300 species of corals and almost 700 species of fish. The reserve also protects one of the few remaining colonies of breeding seabirds in the region.